Welcome back to Light Beyond the Ashes, the podcast where science meets spirituality and awakening becomes embodied. I'm your host, Amber Humphrey. What if the future of healing isn't new at all, but a return to what we've forgotten? I'm once again joined by Tony Sposit, the TikTok history teacher, known for bringing history and ancient wisdom to life. But in this conversation, we're asking a much bigger question. What did ancient civilizations understand about the human body that we're only just beginning to rediscover? We explore how ancient Egyptian insight, modern neuroscience, and somatic practices are starting to align through concepts like the human arc theory, nervous system regulation, somatic engineering, and body-based healing. This is where occupational therapy meets a deeper understanding of how humans are wired to adapt, regulate, and heal, especially in moments of awakening, change, and transformation. This episode isn't about going backwards. It's about integrating what's always been true. If this conversation shifts the way you see your body, your healing, or your own transformation journey, follow Tony and I for more. We're bridging the gap between ancient wisdom and modern science, and we're just getting started. Welcome back to Light Beyond the Ashes, the podcast where we talk about all things spiritual and science. And on this episode, I'm so excited to welcome back Tony Sposit, the TikTok history teacher.
Hello.
Hi, this is now your third time, really fourth. There's an episode that's...
Honestly, I'm like a house cat. You fed me once, I'm just going to keep coming back. That's all.
I think this one is going to be really exciting, though, because we're going to dive into the science behind what we've been working on with the nervous system regulation component of what my world is in the occupational therapy world.
Yeah, it's really cool.
This one's going to be a little bit different, guys. It's not going to just be about spirituality and your spiritual awakening, which we talked about on the last episode, which was wonderful. And I think that it gave a lot of context to how science and spirituality are two sides of the same coin, and that we've kind of done a disservice by saying, oh, you either believe in this or you believe in this, versus maybe two things can be true at once. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. And this one is definitely going to bridge that gap, because not only have we developed this into something for human regulation as itself, but we've also developed this to explain how human beings operate in general, why your life works the way it does, why things work. And in spirituality, we frame this as the universe.
Right.
Right? That's a very real thing. And a lot of the goal that I set out to do with this is spirituality isn't wrong. It's just the symbolic expression of what this stuff is. All of this is very real, very human.
Very.
Right? And that's the whole point of this, is to be human. Everybody out there sits there, and especially in the spiritual community, they try to be something that they're not. The whole point of this entire thing is to be human. Spirituality says that your soul enters your body, and it's eternal. I believe you say it that way, right? Is that it comes from different points. So what's the point of coming down to earth? To be a human. It's an experience.
When you come to Earth, you come to what they call Earth School, right? Where this is where you learn a whole lot that you could never have learned when you are in this light state, if you will, or in different stages. And so how I've come to understand it is that you are actually meant to be human. You do tell me that a lot. It's like, stop being in the clouds, stop being in the astral. Like, that's where I'm from. That's where we're all from in my belief system, is that we're of the cosmos, right? Like, we are bigger than our bodies. However, in the body I'm in, I need to learn to embody what it means to be human. And that's feeling every breath of emotion and learning through hard lessons and having that growth because it teaches my soul. That's how I kind of compartmentalize this.
Well, when I tell you that, I try to remind you that you spend time up there, right? And that's where your focus drifts. That's where you stay. You end up there. That puts you in your head. Stop. Right?
I know.
Like, I understand where you're coming from, and I get that, and I'm not saying that you're wrong, but what I'm saying is that it's meant to be human. If you're, let's just say, a plumber, but you're focusing on being an electrician, are you really doing a good job being a plumber?
No.
So be a plumber.
And the whole purpose is to come here to be a human and to shine that light through your body. Like,
right. So be a human.
I've seen how it's kind of helped me, and you are able to help me get out of my head a lot. I'm like you. We're going to talk in depth about this, the somatic engineering component, everything that we're building and creating, human arc theory. We're going to touch on a whole lot of nerdy stuff today. All my world, reflexes, nervous system regulation, and how all of this kind of ties together. But it definitely has been a process for me of living in my head, living in this hyper controlled state and like not listening to my intuition, not getting into my body, and just how breathing and like shifting that attention down can like really change my day. So you have definitely helped me in that way of learning that I'm a somatic dominant person. Get the hell out of your head.
Well, that's how your body reads everything. So when your head's trying to pick up what's going on, you're trying to look around and go, oh, well, this is this and this is this. Your head is literally making shit up as it goes. That's it.
It's creating meaning usually out of everything that is inherently neutral.
Well, that's its job.
Yeah.
Its job is to interpret and fill in the gaps. So the problem is that, especially with you'll sit there and you will create a whole bunch of things that don't exist.
Don't expose me too hard.
Okay? That don't exist. Like, okay, stop for a second. Did that actually happen, or are you thinking that happened?
Well, I have strong pattern recognition as a neurodivergent person.
Right. And your brain picks up on that. So it meshes patterns. The problem is that in most humans' cases, not just you, and I was no exception when I started doing this, when I started learning, the problem is your brain overrides the patterns that are actually there. You have to read your body. Your body is supposed to be the thing that tells you the answer, right? Especially as a somatic dominant person, your body is how your everything perceives.
Yeah.
So the first thing you should check with is your body. And I was talking with my wife the other day, and one of the things that I told her was, she was talking about something. She goes, I have this little voice that just keeps saying this and this little voice that just keeps saying that, but I have all these big voices up here that are saying this, but this little voice here, I'm like, the little voice is the one you listen to. Right? That's the one you listen to. The big voices that you're having, that's your head screaming at you, making up stuff. The little voice is the one that you listen to. That's the one you have to listen to.
Would you say it's like more of a positive voice, the little voice?
It's the truth.
It's the truth.
It's clarity. People, especially, and this is maybe something spiritual awakenings. I see so many people and talk with so many people and listen to so many people about these, especially watching this podcast and listening to other ones. People keep trying to chase the high, right? So you have your spiritual awakening and then they chase the high. I want to stay like that in that state all the time. That's you're not supposed to. So what happens in a spiritual awakening is your nervous system reorganizes. This is the biological aspect of this. Your entire nervous system reorganizes and operates a new way. So all of a sudden people get this clarity, this feeling, this drop, this everything. The thing is, you have to integrate that into being a human so that freshness is going to go away. Just like, you get a fresh shave. You feel great for like 4 or 5 hours after that. It feels normal now. Yeah. It's the same way. You're supposed to integrate that into your daily life. And the people that integrate it are the ones that become enlightened, the ones that become better, the ones that have clarity, the wise ones. The ones that keep chasing that high, they crash and return back out of that because they're still chasing the high.
And that's where I feel like a lot of people can kind of get tied into the spiritual psychosis, right? Where you're so high, you don't ground it in, you don't know how to ground it in, because you are actually truly traveling in these astral projection states, right? Like you have the Monroe Institute who does this. You have Joe Dispenza who teaches this. There's even Septisync, which is like the binaural beats where it puts you into an altered state, right? There's plant medicine that can get you in an altered state, and you can actually see into a different realm. Like DMT is being tracked for the realm for which has existed across thousands of years and is replicable across all different countries and different populations. So there is more than the human eye can actually perceive and that we have awareness of. But when you start to tap into it and you feel it for the first time, oh my God, is it like, this is so much cooler than this hellscape down here. Like it's kind of escapism a little bit. Maybe. Where it is so painful at times to be a human. It really is. I think both of us know how painful it can be to be a human.
Yeah, but that's the point.
But that's the point, because when you're in the pain, you're getting a lot of lessons. You're alchemizing and integrating the lessons, and then you become a more enlightened soul. So trying to escape from it is actually doing you a disservice. You need to ground it in. And I think that's the point of this podcast, is to kind of figure out
that would be a great place to transmit into human arc theory, though.
Absolutely. Then let's go there.
Human arc theory, first of all, the entire somatic engineering framework, right? Our framework, we've named infinity loop, right? Because that's how humans work. People have infinity loops that they wear all the time, and that's quite literally how everything works, right? It is an endless cycle, an endless loop, and human beings go through cycles. we have life cycles. That's what we do, right? The world is not timed to the clock. The clock is a human construct. The calendar is a human construct.
Right.
Human beings are not timed to a clock.
What are they timed to?
Day-night cycles.
Oh.
One cycle. The world, 365 days. That's one trip around the sun. 365 day-night cycles.
Okay.
Right? The human being is timed to that. So in general, humans have, and this is across multiple people that I've done, everything that I've done here is not just looking at me and looking at you. I've talked with bunches of people. I've done, case studies, look at everything. Human beings in general go through 2 transitional periods a year, right? This is a point in which the body goes to a section or point in their life where it opens up the ability to make changes. We call these arcs. Okay. Now, an arc is not a physical arc. It's the representation that we use to model this. Like if you look at an EKG is actually not the waveform that you see. That's just the representation of what it is.
Right.
We use arcs, right? And humans go through 6-month arcs. Now, it usually is about 6 months. It's actually every 81 cycles.
81 cycles is 81 days?
81 day-night cycles. That doesn't mesh up with a calendar. So, for example, this 81 day-night cycles might end on July 15th, but the next one might end on August 1st. It's just the 81 day-night cycles. It doesn't mesh directly with the calendar, which is why, in general, mine is February, March. Sometime between February and March, I'll reach that point, right? And in human terms, this is when the world goes to chaos.
Yeah.
Like when everything goes to hell in a handbasket. Like you're just sitting there going, what the hell is happening this week, right? That's when you end an arc. Now, from ending an arc, you have roughly about 10 to 12 days to fire a new one. Here's the key. The human has to fire it.
Behaviorally, intentionally,
behaviorally, there has to be something. I found declarative statements for me are the ones that do it, right? So I will have a declarative statement. I'll be like, you know what? I'm done with this. That's it. It's over, right? That's my declarative statement. It starts the next arc. I want this. I want this life. This is what I want. Declarative statement. It starts.
Right.
It could be anything. It could be small nuance that you don't even know, but it's a small decision, right? This is why people say, you took a left instead of a right.
Right.
That small decision of taking that left instead of that right, that can be the point that starts an arc. And you'll know when one starts because you'll have a week of hell and everything will be all tension and busy and falling apart. And you'll just, sit there and want to pull your hair out. I wouldn't know. I don't have hair, but still, they'd want to pull your hair out. And then all of a sudden you make that left-hand turn or say that declarative statement or do something along those lines. And all the tension and pressure disappears. And it's quiet.
So you'll actually go through this pivotal energetic shift because you've actually, this is kind of tying into the spiritual world of manifestation too,
right? Of
how I'm saying like that we just walked through the new moon in Aries with all these damn planets, like 7 planets in Aries, something crazy. And I'm like, I don't know a lot about astrology. All I know is that the astrology people are being like, in this window of time, they're like, set your intentions, set what you want. Who do you want to be? Those are the things. So I'm like, I am this, I am that, I am doing these things. Everything is in the present moment. I am, and I'm declaring it and I write it down, right? Is that now I'm starting a new arc because I put that much energetic attention into, it doesn't matter because new moon or not, but like I'm setting the energetic intention.
No, that's setting your state.
Okay.
The human being operates in a state. Right? Whatever state you are, this is a vibe. So if you are in a low frequency state, this is where your frequencies play in, or a high frequency state. Having intention like that and setting those is actually setting your state. So
to receive,
to be able to accept what you want next. Right? So saying I am a sovereign being of light. That's setting your state that I'm safe. I'm secure. The biggest thing for humans across somatic arcs, across human arc theory, across everything is safety.
Right.
Safety is the first step. In order for an arc to be able to fire, you have to have 4 things.
Okay.
You have to have safety, you have to have agency, you have to have the means, and you have to have the ability. right? So one of them being is you have to be safe. If you're not safe to start the arc, you can't.
When you say safe, do you mean like environmentally safe, emotionally safe, all of it?
Your body has to feel safe.
So that's where the parasympathetic nervous system comes in. When you're in that rest and digest state of not being in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, you're in a regulated, calm state.
This is how the body interacts with the outside world.
Right.
Right. If the human itself, the human is a whole, it's an entity, it's one. It's not a multiple breakup of systems. It's not a multiple different things. This is what ancient cultures knew that we bypass. Everything we've built here is based off of ancient Egypt. And if you've watched my videos, you know how much I am into ancient Egypt. Actually, last time I was here, you took me down to the the history museum when we went to ancient Egypt. That was so cool.
It's so cool.
But everything here is based off of ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt treated the human as a whole. It is an entity. It is a singular thing. It is not a breakup of systems. They make parts of that.
I think this is important to note too, is because in Western medicine, while very valuable and helps with a lot of different things, you go see a cardiologist, you go see a neurologist, you go see an endocrinologist, right? You go see those different individual. What? Hold on that. Okay.
Hold on to that.
You go and see these individual different doctors, but we need to look at the whole picture, right? And that's when you see the functional medicine doctors or the holistic doctors, and you're like, now you're looking at all the systems working together, and that's where you actually discover the breakthrough.
We call these closed loop oscillators.
Yeah. Tell me more about that.
So everything inside of somatic engineering is based on systems theory. Now, not many people understand what systems theory is, but systems theory is just a basic explanation of how this works.
Mm-hmm.
Humans are considered closed loop oscillators, right? There's no beginning, there's no end. It's not a line. We just continually cycle between everything like that. See, here's the thing that you're talking about is you go and see a cardiologist or a neurologist. One of the things that we discovered during this with somatic engineering is the biggest thing we found so far is what was ancient Egypt working on that we're not? How did they know how to do all this stuff? And you can go through ancient Egypt history. They knew about nervous system and regulation. They understood how it worked. They got it. Why don't we get it? Why can't we figure it out? What is the mistake that they don't have or they had that we don't? They don't have scans.
No.
They don't have medicine. They don't have blood labs. They didn't have any of that. So go back to basic brass tacks. What can you observe and see?
Right.
They didn't know that the cardiovascular system and the nervous system were two separate things.
Right.
It's because they're not.
They treated it as one.
They're not.
Right.
It is one.
Mm-hmm.
That's why throughout spirituality, throughout history, every human construct, every tree of life, everything has 10 dots. It's not 11.
Which are the human, how would you explain it now? Is
they're actually the human systems.
But we say there's 11 systems because we separate out the cardiology.
But there isn't 11 systems.
It's a bold statement.
The cardiovascular system and the nervous system are one system that is the human regulatory system.
I like when you say that there's there's two things that go all throughout the entire body, blood and nerves, like arteries, veins, and nerves. And it's like they're all, and I've dissected a human body in grad school. And so I know I dissected through all of that, and I had to,
and they travel with each other.
Take assessments on it. Yeah.
They look like each other.
They do. Oh my God. By the way, it's so hard on the arm.
Okay.
If you have an arm just on the table, by the way, and you're looking at the brachial plexus, good luck.
Okay.
Good luck seeing with a nerve, an artery, a vein. You have to really know what you're doing.
You can't tell them apart because they're the same thing.
They follow the same pathways.
And they require the same amount of stuff. For example, your brain, which has a lot of your nervous system in there, which the brain is an interesting feature. Your prefrontal cortex is a node in itself in the body. Mm-hmm. The rest of the brain is literally a factory. That's all it is.
I mean, I think that this makes a lot of sense. And I want to come back to talking about the human arc theory and the four areas. We talked about safety and how important it is. Agency, not a lot of people know what that word means. They've heard it, but they don't really know how it applies. Agency is choice, right?
It's your ability to choose.
Right.
You have to choose to do it. Right. So in the case of human arcs is that you have to have the ability to choose to start it. Mm-hmm. You can't be forced to fire it under duress.
This is free will.
Right. You have to have free will to be able to start the arc. Mm-hmm. You have to have means, which means it's something that has to be within your capability, right? So you can't be like, I want to start a business running a food factory. Do you have any idea how to run a food factory? No. Then you can't fire an arc about running a food factory. You don't know what you're doing. You don't have the means.
Right.
And you have to have the ability, right? Is this something that I can do? Is this something that is possible, right? So you can fire an arc on something that isn't possible, right? The arc then can go into a failure mode, a pause, a stall, a crash, right? We have like 7 or 8 different failure modes that it goes through. But, you know, you can fire the arc and it can pause there or hold there, right? To the point in which it can continue propagating, right? So humans go through 2 cycles per year, right? You have an internal cycle, which for me is generally February and March, right? That's when I make internal changes. That's when I decide what I am, who I am, what I'm doing. Then it takes 6 months to propagate for the external changes. So the internal changes happen in February. That would make July, August my external change window. That's when you'll see when things will change based upon who I am and what I do. And you can track this. I'm challenging everybody to sit down and think about this that's listening or watching this. Think about your life. Sit there and close your eyes and think about it for a second. You don't have to look for anything specific, but generally, if you think about it, when does shit change for you?
Yeah.
I've known you long enough. Yours is March and April.
Is mine? Okay.
Yours is around March and April, which makes your secondary external one August, September.
There's some changes that could be coming by September. Yeah.
Okay. That's
But like I'm saying, I'm making choices here that I know certain things are coming in different months, right? And then I look in the past, I'm like, okay, yeah, that was a pretty pivotal time frame for me too.
Steve Jobs, you can never connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking back.
Yeah.
Right. So you look back at your pattern and you have pattern recognition, which you and I both have. Right. But like pattern recognition is my superpower. So I can look at something and be like, oh, okay, I get it. All right. Which is how this whole thing developed, is that I can look at the pattern and see patterns in things. So I know in my life, sometime any changes that I made in February, March are going to propagate externally sometime between July and August. Does that mean they're going to happen? No. You don't know when they're going to happen. That's how the world works. However, a window will open during that time for me to make external changes.
Now, this is back to the energy side of this, the spiritual side of things, is that what I know is that how people talk about this, and I know it might sound silly or woo-woo, but I don't really care, is that when you put in your quote unquote order into the universe of like, these are my manifestations, this is what I want, I do the work, I set the declaratory statement, right? My life's going to fall apart, for which it did. When I started doing that, I've talked about this before, when I started saying I'm the healthiest, wealthiest, happiest version of myself, surrounded by peace, love, and positivity, that was in probably July of one of the years in 2022. And then by the end of the year, my whole life was completely different and looked different. Now, what happens in my world is that the frequency changed, right? My frequency now is going to elevate and shift up. And when it elevates and shifts up, when I'm releasing a lot, I was kind of like more of a lower wavelength, right? I was more moving in slower density, more guilt, shame, low vibrational things in the past, self-loathing, whatever you want to call it, low vibration. But then when I made that conscious choice, I'm going to now be this version of myself. I have high hopes for myself. I'm now hopeful. I'm whatever. I raise my vibrational frequency and things are going to start coming to me, and they're going to come to me faster. But I'm going to have the things that are not matching, that are not in alignment, fall away in order for me to get the things that are.
This is why we say when people do life changes, the new things are going to cost you the old things.
Right.
Because when you make a life change, when you declare and you fire an arc, like for example, my arc that I fired in February was as March, I think this year, is that I want to make this work. I want to make somatic engineering work.
Right. Actually,
I want to
bring it to life.
I want to take it to the world. Right. We've made, like with Ancient Earth kind of started this, and we've made over 400 bracelets that work. We've not had one returned.
That's crazy.
Okay. We've had some that are sent back for repair.
Yeah.
Some that are sent back because they're sized wrong. Some that are sent back because, they need to be re-engineered or re-looked at, right? They don't work right. But we've never had somebody say, I don't like this, give me my money back.
So for people who don't understand what the bracelets are, because they've never heard of you talk about bracelets before. What are we talking about?
They're somatic anchors. Basically what happens is people don't realize how your nervous system works. Your nervous system reads everything, right? Now, I'm going to kind of push back on a little bit because I know I'm going to kind of really piss some people off here. Stones don't have energy. They're stones. That's against the laws of physics. Every single brand of physics, quantum physics, Newtonian physics, they don't have energy. What they do have is lattices. Lattices is the structure of the stone. Now, your body likes predictability and stability. It makes it feel safe, right? So you put a predictable lattice on the human body that's safe. There ain't nothing safer than a stone. It ain't moving. It's the same thing. It's like, okay, well, what happens when I did a video on Operation Plumb Bob where they talked about they detonated a nuclear bomb underground, and it's like, well, it's going to go to the weakest point. Well, you got the planet. That ain't moving. It's the planet, right? So the manhole cover was the weakest link. It's a stone. However, what people describe as energy is the repeatable, predictable pattern that happens when the nervous system reads that stone. So for your bracelet, it's lapis lazuli. Lapis lazuli in spirituality terms is clarity. So lapis lazuli's lattice structure is very organized. It's not chaotic. So when you put that on your body, your nervous system reads it, and the predictable response that you get is clarity in your head. And people will feel it right here in their third eye. Right? That's your prefrontal cortex. That's your body discharging energy into your prefrontal cortex. Energy in your body is very, very real, but a stone doesn't have energy. So what we've done is figured out a way to map those into giving the nervous system a pattern.
Okay.
Right? So what we do is we basically tell the nervous system, this is a pattern you're going to use. And as long as it finds it safe and stable and salient, it'll use it.
How will it use it? Like the properties?
It reads it as a pattern. In cases like mine, I give it a certain signal that I want it to do. For example, this bracelet that I have on right here, this one is coherence. It puts all of my body in line. My head, my heart, my sensory node, and then my somatic node, which we can get into in a minute. However, it keeps those all in line and spinning at the same speed. So that's the pattern I'm giving the body.
Okay.
I'm telling it what I want it to do. Now, you can do this without a bracelet. Okay? You can tell your body what to do. Dr. Joe Dispenza is a really great one who does this. He basically just put himself into this state by just saying, I'm going to do this. He did it the old-fashioned way, right? Where he just did it off pure intention.
The meditation, yeah.
Okay, and all of that. But he did the same thing. He literally made his regulatory loop operate correctly.
And do you think there's anyone who could say, well, this is just a placebo effect? Do you think that it's going to help, so it does help? And don't you think the placebo effect is actually pretty powerful because it does have an effect? That's why it's monitored and measured.
If there's anybody watching that does that, if there's anybody watching that does that believes that, that's fine. Call me.
Yeah.
Go on my website, go on ancientearth.com, fill out a somatic profile. You know what? I'll tell you what, do a session with me. Okay. Pay for the session. We'll send you the bracelet.
Yeah.
Okay. And if it doesn't work, I'll give you your money back. But I have made 400 of these.
Yeah.
With people that have had, I had a kid that I've made one of these that has a gene deficiency. He's missing a protein in his genes and couldn't regulate for anything. The mother called us 3 days later and said, I don't know what the hell you guys did, but he's functioning normally.
Oh, can I please insert my little testimonial here? So not only do I have them, my family has them, my daughters have them, but my 7-year-old has had her amethyst and rose quartz with, I think, maybe like moonstone or something. I can't remember what she has on it, but she's had that since probably January. And she was dealing with a lot of emotional dysregulation, crying all the time. I'm doing occupational therapy with her myself. Like, she gets speech therapy. She gets all the sensory, the reflexes, the nervous system. It all supports all of this, right? So she's not just getting a bracelet. She's getting all the other strategies. But she was combined with the bracelet and the strategies. She was doing really well. And I was like, oh man, like Hazel's like really in control of her emotions. Like, look at you go. And then all of a sudden she was like crying and crying and crying again. I was like, well, this is old Hazel. What's happening? Why are we going backwards? And I looked at her wrists and I was like, where's your bracelet? And she goes, oh, I lost it. I don't know where it is. I think I left it at school. And she was just crying even more. And so we didn't have it for like 3 days. And I was like, oh my God, Tony, I need a new bracelet. Right. And then we come to find it underneath the bed and we give it to her. She's like, oh, there it is. I put it on. And all of a sudden she was back to her baseline, which was now not crying anymore. And it was like, it just gave this anchor point to her.
It's exactly
that
what it is.
Really helped make what I was doing with her as well more effective. And at home she asks for Reiki because like it helps her with pain, helps her with sleep, all that kind of stuff. But I think this is one of those things where it's a tool. It is a tool in the toolbox of what you can use as a strategy in conjunction with the things that I do, which I'd like to talk about later. But, I want to go back to, finishing talking about, somatic engineering. And I know you mentioned the somatic nodes. And so now that we kind of understand, do we feel like we need to explain more about the bracelets and how they work? Or
if you want, but at this point, the bracelets are just anchor points.
They're anchor points.
They're somatic anchors that give the body a repeatable pattern.
Yeah.
Right. Where we really come into it and where the hard part of this is that once we established how the body works, is now engineering those. And it is engineering. Don't think anything that it's stringing beads. I can tell you right now, engineering those takes me longer than anything to tell the body to find the predictable pattern that I want to tell the body what to do. And then they are artwork. My wife is the one that makes every single bracelet that we have. She makes them by hand. Right? We don't carry stock, and it is a piece of art, every single one.
They're absolutely
beautiful. We
beautiful.
don't just string beads. And she'll call me sometimes and be like, hey, listen, I looked at this and it doesn't look right. Can we use 4mm spacers instead of 6mm? It'll look better. Right. And sometimes I'll tell her, no, you can't do that. Sometimes she'll be like, yeah, I can't. Yeah, you can. No big deal. Right. But when I tell you about these bracelets aren't just strung beads. They're labors of love. I mean, I don't think people realize the only way that these work is because they're pure stone.
Right.
Right. You can't use garbage stone. That's why going to your standard, if you want to know where the best places to get any kind of real stone is a museum, is generally a museum. The Houston Museum of Natural Science had wonderful stones that they had there, and they're legitimately real. So we scour everywhere. I've got 5 or 6 suppliers. And when I started working with suppliers, I called them. I'm like, I need providences. I need to know that these are 100% genuinely real.
And not glass stones.
Not glass, not whatever. I need real stone. And the 3 or 4 suppliers I use, I trust. And know that I don't require providences for every single strand every single time. But I know that when I'm talking with Stones Direct,
okay,
right, when I'm talking with them, I know what I'm buying is real.
It matters.
Yeah.
It
so
matters.
These really are labors of love. They're not a lot of the more, this bracelet has blue tourmaline on it, right? I had to import that from China. Right. And it's only found in northern China. So I had to import it directly from China. Our Moldavite, I imported directly from the Czech Republic. Yeah. Right. So this is not something that, we're buying beads off of,
Amazon.
YYZ beads.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're scouring and making sure that every bead that we put on a bracelet is 100% genuine.
And so now that we kind of understand human arc theory, the somatic arc bracelets, let's dive in. Do you want to?
Human arc theory you're close.
Do we need to close it out?
Yeah.
Okay. What do we need to close out on human arc theory?
So the way humans operate that way is that they propagate through these cycles. Now, if you look through your life, you can have multiple arcs running at the same time. So you have multiple arcs. So you might have month-long arcs. You might have a couple day-long arcs. You might have 3-month arcs, right? All of these play into the one large arc that happens. So, you have a bunch of these little arcs operating throughout that 6-month period, that 81-day cycle period, right? Those all lead you to one point, and we call it a convergence point. This is where one thing happens, and everything resolves, and the ability to open a new arc opens up. You have 10 to 12 days to fire it. If you don't, the new arc starts on its own at the same parameters that the old one was.
Is this the repeated cycles?
This is the repeated cycles. This is why people, and the thing is people will repeat the pattern over and over and over again. And you can see this in your life. You know, you keep being faced with the same situation over and over and over and over and over again. It's because you didn't make the choice right the last time. That's because you propagated it wrong. So the arc's going to return. You're going to return back to that point.
And I would challenge you to say you didn't make the right choice. You didn't make the choice that was in highest and best alignment with what you want to be and who you want to become. Because I don't really think that there's right or wrong or good or bad. I think that's just the idea of duality. But it's what is in the most alignment with the highest self that you envision for yourself.
What is the most alignment with you?
Right.
With who you are.
Right.
Okay. You go through some place and all of a sudden you see yourself in a situation with a person, right? And you're like, okay, well, you know, I don't like this, right?
Or a job.
Or a job. A job's another one. Or
a house or an environment.
A house or a car or you know, anything.
Yeah.
Where you sit there and you go, I don't like this. But you choose to stay or choose to buy the car or choose to stay at the job or choose to do something anyways, even though your body's telling you, I don't like this.
Right.
You're going to face that same decision again.
Yeah.
You didn't choose what was aligned for you.
And this is one of those things where it's like the self-fulfilling prophecy of like, why do bad things keep happening to me? Why? Like you can beat yourself up about it, but you're not listening to your intuition. Your intuition is talking to you. We're going to talk about the different dominants of the nodes and whatnot in a moment. But when you think about how you are in control to a degree of the life that you live because you have free will. I mean, yes, there are some things that I feel like we are destined to become and do, and it is up to us to listen to the call, and oftentimes we ignore it.
You're
right?
supposed to.
You're supposed to listen to the inside call. But a lot of times because of fear, self-limiting beliefs, lack mindset, resources, environment, circumstances that you can't see beyond, you don't make the choice. But free will is there all the time. But it is scary to live in free will.
But humans at the same time are products of the environment. We're social creatures. So while you may look at something right now and feel it right down here that this is what's supposed to happen, right? This is where that's supposed to happen. There are multiple other things inside of that can shift that, right? So somebody makes one decision, somebody else makes one decision, and all of a sudden everything shifts. So what you felt before, right, is now not.
Or what I've seen before.
Or what you've seen before.
Because I have the, clairvoyance, claircognizance, all that stuff. Like I can see and feel and know and hear. But I'm like, well, I didn't see this coming or I saw it going like this. And it's like, but there's free will for not only myself, but there's free will for other people around me too.
Clairvoyance, seeing as they call it, is a view from this point. As everything stands inside of what I like to call in system theory, it's the system. As everything stands inside of the system at this current point. So you can see a vision straight out and go, okay, that's what I'm going towards.
Right.
That's what it is. There are 30 other visions going around you at the same time, 30 other arcs in your life that are running at the same time, sometimes more, sometimes less. There's 20 different people in there that that have free will and can make decisions of their own that can cross trajectory with your arc.
Which can influence you.
So all of a sudden you're looking at it and going, this is right. This is what's going on. And then two other people make a decision, your kids make a decision that all of a sudden shifts the trajectory this way. So the best way I can tell anybody when it comes to spirituality, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, those things like that, they're data. Take them as data. This is what I feel is right. And you propagate this over time. Okay, so if I feel this is right and I felt this is right for the past 5 weeks, with everything running the way it is, okay, maybe there's some truth to it.
Right.
Okay. And then you start looking at the external factors. Then you start looking at things. Then you start going, okay, so there's some truth to that. Okay. And then you start moving towards it. If it's something you want, you start moving towards it. Right. You can't project it right now and all of a sudden be like, oh my God, this is what's going to happen. This is where this is. We're human. Right. Be human. But you can sit there and look at it and go, I really think this is where I'm going to go. And you can start moving that direction. This is where you start setting intention. Start moving that direction. But be advised that anything can change in an instant. I think we've talked about it on the last podcast, the power of one. One moment, 1 second, one decision, one wrong turn, one right turn, one laugh, one smile, one breath can change everything in a moment.
Right.
So know that, while you look like this is going to happen, while this might happen, while this looks like a great idea, that can change really quick.
Right.
I live in the world of one moments. I'm a paramedic by trade.
Yeah.
Right? I live there. I live in a world where that one moment happens. Right? And sometimes it's that one moment that somebody's heart stops, and it's that one drug that I give them that brings them back.
Right.
Sometimes it's just I live in a moment in a life of ones, and I watch out for those one moments, because those one moments, those one choices, those 1 seconds, those start an arc.
They do. And I think that's really important too, because what I keep hearing, like just in my head right now, is this is what it means to live in the infinite now moment, in that power of one moment, right? Like if you're too focused on the past or the future, what can be or what was, you're actually not living and creating from this power of one moment right now, which is where you're going to miss a lot of data. You're going to miss a lot of things if you're not paying attention to this moment because you're distracted by the past, or you're distracted by the worries of the future. Am I going to have that job? Am I going to have enough money? Like I know some people I'm talking to and I love deeply are so afraid because the 3D world around them is shifting because of layoffs, because the economy is terrible. How am I going to do this? Like everyone lives in these states of fear, which then also, like that's the internal state that can alter your ability to make a choice and to fire an arc, right?
Your internal state, the human being is the center of all this. And I know like people sit there and go, the human is not the center of the world. No, realistically, in honesty, between human arc theory and regulation, the human is the key. You are the key, right? You're the thing that operates your world. And everybody's world is different. This is why I say, and I said to you, one of the things that when I first said to you is, how do you change the world? One person at a time, because everybody else has their own world. Everybody has their own world. So for me, yes, curing cancer, for example, would change the world, but not for everyone.
Because not everyone has cancer.
Yeah. But, a person who is having a manic episode that is terrified, stepping in with them and looking at them and going, it's okay, and taking their hand and taking them to the hospital and being quiet and just listening to what they have to say, right? Sometimes that one moment with them changes the world.
Yeah, changes their world.
You doing this podcast changes the world every single day, because everything you talk about, and I've watched every episode, right? Everything you talk about, while it might not apply to me, and some stuff does, but somebody out there it applies to. And while many of you watching this might look at this and go, this guy's full of crap, right? But there's somebody out there that this might actually look at them and go, is that why my life keeps doing this? And it's that one thing I said that changes them. Yeah. Change the world.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's really important, like as we continue to elevate our consciousness and remember that we are in this one unified conscious field, that you are the main character of your own life and everyone is a supporting actor in your life. Like it's your life. Live your life for yourself. Fire the arc that you want to fire because it is your life to live. And I think it's just a really good reminder. And so I want to jump to, we talked about nodes earlier and how I'm somatic dominant, you're somatic dominant, and these different nodes. Without being too technical, because, not everyone understands all the science the way that we do. How can you explain these different nodes within the infinity loop model that we've created?
So the human being has 4 different nodes, and they map biologically into the body. So for example, we use the head node. The head node is your prefrontal cortex that sits right here. Okay. That's your central nervous system. Okay. Your heart node, which is obviously your heart, right, has what is called the INS, which is the intracardiac nervous system, right? This is where your entire rhythm sets up from. What is your sensory node is your gut. It's called the ENS, the enteric nervous system.
The enteric nervous system.
Right? So each one of these little nervous system applies to a hub. For example, your enteric nervous system is your solar plexus, right? Your heart is, your heart brain, Heart Math Institute. Your brain is obviously your central nervous system. The big one that most people don't know about, but spirituality has right, is your root, right? This is the somatic node. Now, the somatic node sits in your sacral area. It is the plexus that ends right on your sacral nerve, which is one of the most important nerves of the body. This is what defines a human being's safety. Mm-hmm. So for us, especially being somatic dominant, right, the biggest thing for us, doesn't matter what it is safety and stability. Mm-hmm. If we don't feel safe, nothing can happen.
Safety is paramount.
Okay? Nothing can happen. If you're in a situation where you don't feel safe, you're not going to make the decisions the right way because you don't feel safe.
I feel like I can personally testify to that because I did not know for a long time until last year when we met that I was a somatic dominant person. Mm-hmm. And I was making a lot of decisions just as a human, as a leader, as an entrepreneur from a place of fear because I was living real life fear experiences for a very prolonged period of time. And when you're not making decisions from the dominance that like you should be tapped into, you should be centered and grounded there. But because I was living in fear, I'm always in my head. And I'm like, again, always trying to problem solve my way out of things versus just like grounding back in and being, as far as a Reiki practitioner, being in the root is being grounded, right? Like that is where you must have this balance. But I wasn't living in there. I would ground all the time, but I was not rooted. And so the way that I now can go from being in my head to being in my heart and my body and then into my, somatic node, it definitely, like you can see me physiologically shift and change. Mm-hmm. Like everyone can tell me like, oh, I can see when you're in your head. I can see when you're not. Mm-hmm. Like your shoulders, my shoulders are tight, high. I'm talking really fast. Like I'm not.
Your pitch and your voice changes.
My pitch and my voice changes. I'm not grounded, right?
And a lot of times there's actually two dominances, right? There's your structural dominance. This is encoded into your body. Mm-hmm. So for us, our structural dominance is somatic dominant, right? That's how our body receives the information from the outside world. Then there's your operational dominance. This is where your body prefers to operate from. Now your structural dominance doesn't move. Your operational dominance does. This is why sometimes you need to be in your head node. You need to think through something. So your operational dominance will switch to your head node, mm-hmm. and you'll be able to think through things. There's an intrinsic way that people like to be. For example, I'm somatic dominant sensory. So my body prefers to go somatic dominant and runs in my sensory, right? You're emotional. Your baseline and intrinsic way of doing it is your body likes to be in emotion. It's where it likes to be. Yeah. It's where it's comfortable, right? So you can switch between your sensory node and your head node. I can switch between my heart node and my head node, no questions asked, right? But if it goes back to baseline where I'm safe and secure and not needing to do anything, sensory is where it goes. And that's where I try to live from, is that somatic dominant sensory point where this is what I feel. And we call this bottom up. Mm-hmm. Right. So my body will read everything, go from sensory node to heart node to head node. My head works best when it just interprets what everything else says. Mm-hmm. Now, if I need to generate a thought, that's fine. But my body works best if I just go, okay, this is what I feel. This is what this is. This is how this is. That's it.
So how does this apply to, somatic engineering that we've created as a whole, to where we're merging this with occupational therapy, with the somatic arc bracelets? Like, how does all of this merge and matter? Why does this matter to people?
Because the human regulatory system, which is a combination of the cardiovascular system and the nervous system. Nervous system is in, cardiovascular system is out. The regulatory system is the way a human operates.
Right.
Period. Everything that happens in a human is an expression of that system. Mm-hmm. Anxiety, it's an expression of that system. PTSD is an expression of that system. Mm-hmm. ADHD is an expression of that symptom. Physical symptoms are an expression of that system, right? If you take, and the thing that I say and everything, since this has all come, I built this and everything, is fix the regulatory system first. So you have somebody that has 80 different symptoms, right? Fix the regulatory system first. Re-regulate the body. Uh-huh. Okay? Look what's left after that.
Right.
And I can guarantee you, in any test case that I've run, in any scenario that I've run, and any person I put up against it, generally once I fix the regulatory system, the symptoms that are left over cluster. Mm. right? So you look at it and go, okay, so you have this lady that's a certain way, and the test scenario that I ran was, give me a scenario, let me figure it out. So once I re-regulated the body, all of a sudden, all the symptoms lined up to be in the liver.
Interesting.
However, their diagnosis is they kept diagnosing her and this is a scenario. This is not a person I just created. I had AI create a scenario that I operated through.
Right.
However, every diagnosis that they had it in her head as a neurological condition. Every single one that they gave me in the scenario was a neurological condition. Okay, but that's not the problem. The neurological symptoms were a symptom of the regulatory system being dysregulated. So once I took out those symptoms and took and re-regulated the regulatory system and had it operate, right? All of a sudden, all the symptoms clustered around the liver. Treat that.
Treat that.
Treat the liver.
So this is a way of actually being able to identify what is going on truly in the human body, and that's not being kind of masked by other symptoms. So for example, you could have rapid heart rate, right? And you could be having these different kind of tachycardia type symptoms, but really you're having anxiety induced kind of tachycardia, like where your heart is like really beating out of your chest because you're super dysregulated. But maybe that's not actually the primary symptom. That's just happening because there's something else going on, an inflammatory response in the liver that's going on that's causing disruption because the entire body is an infinity loop and everything feeds off of each other simultaneously.
Well, the regulatory system is an infinity loop. The body systems are an expression of this system. So your cardiac system and your nervous system are the two most. It's not two. I don't want to say they're two systems. They're not. They're one. It's one thing.
Right.
Right. This is what ancient Egypt knew. This is what everybody knew. And anybody that I've told about this, they go, "No, that fits. That actually makes sense." See, you as an occupational therapist, what do you really work on?
Me? I mean, I feel like I work on the entire human body, but a lot of what I work on every single day is the nervous system. That's what I feel like I'm focusing on is regulatory state.
So what's going to happen now when I give you the keys to this and tell you that you follow the circulatory system, you follow the cardiovascular system too. You look at that and go, your nervous system is doing this, but we got to look at the other half of the loop.
So how do we do that?
So basically what we do is we run a profile.
Right.
So you give me what the nervous system is doing. I observe you what the nervous system is doing. I see what's going on.
Right.
And then not only do I look at everything that's going on the top half of the loop, which is your nervous system, now I'm going to propagate it on the back end of the loop. For a great example of this, the best example I've had once I created this is I thought about this. Cardiac arrest. Somebody's dying. All right? As a paramedic, I've dealt with this so many times, more times than I care to know. You want to know what the problem we're doing wrong with cardiac arrest is? We're treating one half the loop.
The cardiac system.
We're treating the circulatory system. We're doing CPR. We're doing EKGs. We're doing epinephrine. We're doing sodium bicarb. We're doing amiodarone. We're worrying about all of this. And we're worrying about moving blood. This is incredibly important, getting oxygen around the body, moving all that. This is incredibly, incredibly important, right? Nothing wrong with that. Medicine is correct. We should do that. Nobody is sending a signal to the nerves to tell it to turn on.
How do you do that though?
Calcium gluconate.
What is it?
Calcium gluconate.
Oh. So it's a medication that you could give.
It's a medication that opens up the nerve endings.
Has this ever been trialed?
Nope.
Interesting. So you think that if you tap into how all of it is one, that you would actually have better outcomes for patients?
If you tell the nervous system, you have to send that signal to the nervous system to say, turn on.
That makes sense.
Turn on.
Because it's all together, it's all related.
It's all one system. So if you're pumping the heart and pumping the blood, you're running half the system, right? The other half of the system isn't running.
So then how can I dive into my aspect of my lived experience with the pediatric patients and the adult population here that I'm working with at Open Door is that I am identifying the different vagal tone states. The vagus nerve is the largest nerve in your body, the 10th cranial nerve. We call it the wandering nerve. It is the key to the nervous system because it literally gets you out of those dysregulated states and into a regulated state if you can tap into it and help increase vagal tone.
It's not the key to the nervous system. It's the key to the human.
It's the key to the human.
That is the most important nerve, the most important thing we have. that literally is how your body communicates with itself.
Right. So when you have the ventral vagal state, when a person is in a ventral vagal state, they are they're social, they're friendly, they're focused, they're ready to learn. We call this the green zone when we're doing zones of regulation with kids. And then we also have the dorsal vagal state. This is the freeze mode. This is where I joke and call it dorsal dead, where you're just completely dissociated and numbed to the world because it's easier to shut down as self-preservation than to push through. And then you have the sympathetic activation state, which is your fight and your flight, right? And then fawn is kind of mixed in between there as a maladaptive behavior. For survival purposes of please love me, don't hurt me. Like, I just want to feel safe in my environment. I will do whatever I can to people please because it is safer to do that than to not do that. And that was, for me, a place that I lived in a lot was, God, I think I was all of them really at different various points for survival purposes. But I'm now drifting more to the ventral vagal state, which is where I want to be, where you have nervous system resilience. And when you live in this ventral vagal state, you are more capable of taking on life's challenges without deflecting and deferring back into those maladaptive / survival states. And then what the somatic profiles are giving me, as our new models are doing, is not only it can help identify based on the questionnaire what state the person is in, right? Are they in ventral vagal? Are they in dorsal vagal? Are they in sympathetic activation? And are they in people-pleasing fawn mode? Okay, that's very helpful information because for me, it determines like what their baseline is. Then we look to see what dominance they have. Like, how do they receive information from the environment dominantly, like you said, structurally or organizationally? Then that guides me into how that child or that person would best receive therapy as well, right?
It gives you the why.
It gives me the why. What's wrong here? The
why
X marks the
is
spot.
a human operating this way?
Right.
See, that's the question we've forgotten in modern medicine altogether. Is we look at the how this is happening, we look at the what's happening, but nobody asks, why is this happening?
Right. Curiosity is like super important when you're in healthcare, but no one's as curious as me.
Why does this look this way? Why is a kid that is incredibly happy, he's autistic and that's okay, but you know, he's incredibly happy, he's playing over here. Why is all of a sudden he flipping crap and throwing shit all over the place? What happened?
Exactly. And then with that, not only is it all of these wonderful things that we're creating through somatic engineering, it's my knowledge as an occupational therapist of looking at the sensory systems. Which sensory system are they over responsive in? Like, are they over responsive in auditory input, hypersensitive rather, to where it's like anything that's a loud noise is going to then trigger a fight response, a flight response, a freeze response, right? You're going to watch them literally withdraw or you're going to activate. Or are they under responsive? They're hyposensitive to auditory input where they're not registering their environment. So then I need to be a different kind of therapist. I need to meet these kids in different spaces dependent upon their state. And this is, I think, the most paramount thing that we've ever talked about as clinicians is because we have to know what we're doing. You can't just be guessing. I think a lot of times we've been guessing of what people really need.
We have to meet them where we are, where they are.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing that I've kind of pushed with you is when I built this is meet them where they are. You have if you try to do a top-down model on a bottom-up kid, it's going to fail every time. Doesn't matter what you're doing. Doesn't matter whether the research says vagal states are supposed to work. That's not how the body operates. That's not how the human's operating.
Right.
They operate bottom up. They're somatic dominant. Why are you trying to do a top-down method on a bottom-up person?
And you know what's really funny is that once I started modifying my approach in therapy, and then I have this one particular patient who was struggling with behavioral outbursts that were pretty significant. And it was definitely a lot for me to work through. And I talked to you a lot about this child and the family in general. And for me, I was trying to identify, what am I not doing right? Or what were we not doing right as clinicians? And when I finally realized that this child's nervous system requires, not that everyone's doesn't, because everyone does require safety and agency. And that's what I teach as a trauma-informed clinic is safety and agency, then your goals, right? But if you can meet a child where they're at, a human where they're at, allow them to feel safe, be the safe presence they need, not just say you are safe, be the safe presence they need because of mirror neurons and they're receiving you and your energy and your input. Give them agency and choice. So every single thing I was doing was, it was all the things I wanted to do, but then I gave them choice. Do you want to do starfish popcorns or do you want to do taps? Do you want to do log rolls or do you want to do inchworms? I'm working on reflex integration, right? I'm getting what I need out of the session. He has choice every single time. And then I saw him thrive. I gave him heavy work because his body needed proprioceptive input to move this energy that was pent up, that was then being released as aggression. It's now being released in a way that is more therapeutic, and he's doing an obstacle course with weighted balls. And then by the time he leaves, he feels proud of himself. He succeeded, and he felt like he actually is like getting better, right? And it's like, this is what is needed. It's just required in healthcare and in healing is look at the entire body. What is the body telling you?
That's what we do.
Yeah.
We take a picture of the entire body and look at the regulatory system and go, how is the human functioning?
Right.
If you're not functioning correctly, then we have to look at what are the interventions that we do, because they're not treatments, they're interventions. You do treatments, we do interventions.
Right.
Right. So what is the best way to do this? Now, the bracelets, like we talked about earlier, people go, do I need the bracelet? Do you do this? The bracelet's a cheat code. Mm-hmm. It's a tool.
It's like a back door, like in Mario Brothers. Like you're like, I'm going to go this way.
You know, AABB, start. You know what I mean? It's a cheat code. Now, you can teach your body to read the pattern correctly and do it how it's supposed to do anytime you want. Mm-hmm. It's going to take a while. Or you can get a $100 gemstone bracelet, slap one of these damn things on your wrist, right? And all of a sudden, your body knows what it needs to do. Mm-hmm. And can start shifting it back. You see, we don't fix anything. We give the body a pattern. The body's an amazing machine. Mm-hmm. It does it on its own. It'll heal itself. All we really have to do is give it a pattern, tell it to downshift their entire nervous system so the medicine, the treatment, to whatever you're doing is not fighting against the human, right? And once that downshifts, just support their healing.
And I think the other thing that's really fascinating about what we're doing is that when you realize that the state of the human body and how you actually are living through life, moving through life, can dictate your overall well-being. And through breath work and somatic body work and tuning forks and vibration plates and sensory integration, reflex integration, vagus nerve stimulation, all of the things I do each and every day in conjunction with bracelets, in conjunction with, ancient knowledge and modern knowledge, you can actually decrease adrenaline, cortisol, and those hormones in the body that make you be in fight or flight as well, which can then decrease inflammation in the body, which then increases your overall sense of wellness. And I really wanted to speak on this real fast because I created the caregiver healing program here at Open Door Pediatric Therapy because the caregivers were so dysregulated with their children who had extra needs, right? And I was like, why is nobody checking on the parent, the caregiver? Like, they're not okay. They're burnt out. And I just did 2 progress notes for 2 of the parents, and each of them, I do like the Hamilton Anxiety Scale, which is a standardized questionnaire of like symptoms of someone who's got anxiety and all the different systems working together. It literally looks at the cardiovascular system, the nervous system. It breaks them all down, right? There's like 14 different questions. And one of the moms started at a 16 as a score of a 16 of moderate anxiety, and she's now a 3, mild to no anxiety. And she feels better. She's like, you're my favorite part of the week. I love coming here. It makes me feel so much better. You make me feel safe. And I'm like, that's without medicine, right? One of the moms has a bracelet, but the other one doesn't. I have like 5 or 6 moms now, but one of the moms does have a bracelet and it gives her more energy, right? She's like, oh, I took it off. I had too much energy today, which is a cool feeling to experience. But for me, I'm over here and I'm like, okay, I'm helping people literally physiologically reduce these symptoms. Like I'm watching the rapid heart rate one where they scored it as a 3, happens all the time, to a 0, doesn't happen at all anymore. That's increasing and improving their overall wellness and well-being. And that's what the world is looking for right now. I think that's what makes us different. And using the somatic profiles, using somatic engineering, infinity loop, in conjunction with being a paramedic and being an occupational therapist, I think that's what makes what we're doing so unique and different. Because we're looking at the whole human and how the whole human operates together and why it's so important for optimal functioning.
Absolutely. And one of the biggest things that we do is we're not saying medicine is wrong.
No.
I'm not saying that psychology is wrong. I'm not saying that cardiology, neurology, nephrology, spirituality, none of it is wrong. We're saying it's incomplete. Mm-hmm. You're missing half the picture.
Put it all together.
Right? Spirituality is the symbolic expression of the human experience. Mm-hmm. Science is the literal physical expression of it. And history tells the story. Mm-hmm. The problem with history is you have to look through history now.
Yeah.
Because it's all whitewashed to serve a purpose.
Yes.
And that's coming from a guy who's the history teacher online. It's all whitewashed to serve a purpose. So what you have to do is when you want to find out real history, you have to dig and look for the crap that's out of place.
Right.
The stuff that you look at and go, what? And that's part of how this whole thing started, is that I looked at it and went, how did they heal people back in the day without all the medicine that we had? What did they do? How did they do this? Then I realized and discovered that the gemstones and bracelets and all the big stuff that ancient Egyptians wore, all their big jewelry and their headpieces, they weren't jewelry. They were inputs. They were tools.
They were somatic tools.
They were tools that they were putting on their body to help regulate. An ancient Egyptian temple literally controlled the human from the second you walked in to the second you left.
Yeah.
Right? Old churches, and I'm not talking about old churches. I'm talking like cathedrals, like medieval cathedrals. They all used to do this too.
And when you look at them and you look at the designs, they definitely have cymatic patterns within them. This, where sound and frequency resonates up and through. And I literally watched a wonderful video the other day that showed how sound traveled through this one cathedral. It went forwards, backwards, up, down. And you can imagine a whole slew of people laying on the ground and just getting that vibratory input through whatever frequency music was being played back then, because we know I just hosted a sound bath healing session with Reiki and nervous system regulation and tuning forks at Open Door with women, with my friend Trudy Moore, who her episode's coming out as well. And she created a company called Simply Zenful. And we use the power of sound. And Damien was the sound bowl therapist. And he was just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. This music was going, the sound was going into the people's body. And this one woman, she sits up, she's completely in a different altered state. She fell over and she was like, I am not in my body yet, right? Like the power of sound and going through cells and going through the body and the structure, and how it can create coherence and resonance within the body to where you're recalibrated. And you always say, you're not broken, you're just out of tune. Everything that we seek to do is to get the human body back in tune. And that's what your somatic music does through the Awakened History Teacher, which you have new albums that have dropped.
2 of them. Ignition Point came out last week, and just today, Already There came out.
And where can people find them right now?
You can find them on SoundCloud. They're going to be coming out on Spotify and everything here real soon, but it takes time for me to get them up there. But SoundCloud, they're released on. And then next week, In Motion comes out next week. And then there'll be a little bit before the next one. Yeah. But the new one's called Apex.
And these are all somatically created songs through using frequencies.
Using rhythm, using entrainment. My style is the way I found it, as I use African kind of levels. So the style is actually called Amapiano, and Egyptian stuff. And it's a lot of, we use different kinds of drums and drums rhythm and drums beats, and then fuse it with pop songs and EDM. So it kind of creates this full picture where you get this entire experience from front to back. And then we mix it with emotional lyrics. And we use all of our lyrics. All of my lyrics is about love and acceptance and getting better at yourself, and moving forward and feelings that we have. And usually, like, songs sometimes describe a story. I try to describe a moment in time. I try to describe that one moment where all of a sudden your brain shifts and you go, I'm done. Or I want to do this. Or let's go.
Right.
That moment where you all of a sudden feel that I try to pick that moment and then try to describe that moment and then apply that to a song.
I think what's really cool about your music too is that, like, if you were just listening to the Egyptian, meditation, because you have some of those on your SoundCloud and your older songs where it's Egyptian chanting, Egyptian meditation, like, that's great, but it's not for everybody. But if you kind of have turned it to where you could hear this on the radio and be like, that's a really cool song. I like that I like listening to it on the radio, but it's actually healing the human body through the different frequencies and the different drums and beats that are tied to I think you had one of them some of them were tied to the human heartbeat, right? To where it was like actually entraining the body to be in coherence with the song, to where you could maybe you do some of your vagus nerve stimulation. Maybe you're wearing your bracelet. You're just like dancing and moving, and you're getting your body grounded too.
They're designed. Each album has a theme about it. So, like, the best one, I think, my personal favorite that I've done so far is Already There, right? And Already There is the first album that I actually used not just solfeggio frequencies, where I dived into other kinds of frequencies, somatic frequencies, different other frequencies, and then tied it together with rhythm and entrainment. And, you know, in that one, I pulled in the log drum, right? And I pulled in frame drums, and I pulled in instruments that most people don't even know of, but that have been used for centuries in West Africa, South Africa, Nigeria, Egypt. They've been using these instruments since the dawn of time. You know what I mean? So we pulled some of those instruments into this and then fused it with EDM. And out of all the albums I've created so far, Already There is just, it's, I listen to that one myself, and I'll sit there and listen to it, and I can't believe I created this one.
Yeah.
Apex is the second one where I shifted less from, you know, that drum rhythm stuff and shifted back more into an EDM feel, but use that as a backing. And that one's turning out. I'm only about 3 or 4 songs into it, but that one's really...
I think there's going to be an album kind of for everybody, right? So what's your first album called?
Summer City Lights.
Summer City Lights. That's already out everywhere. People can find that one. And then you have Ignition Point.
Ignition Point
is out. Already There is out. And you've got Apex is coming next, or
In Motion.
In Motion is coming next. So you've got some like really exciting things coming for you as far as like your music getting out there and not just living in your drafts, like where you're hiding it for yourself. The whole world is going to get to hear your music in conjunction with Somatic Engineering.
The music is the entry point for all of this.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing I will tell everybody, that if you don't think that this works, if you don't want to do this, what's it hurt to go onto SoundCloud and listen to a song? Go listen to one of my songs. Pick any one. Right.
Yeah.
I suggest anything off of In Motion. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's a lot of fun. It makes you happy. It's great. Right. But go listen to a song. Right. And then tell me at the end of it how you feel.
Right.
Right. If you feel better, then go look at a bracelet. Go see what I have to say.
Exactly. And so where can people, if they're interested in what we've talked about today, I know that you're opening up some sessions for some of these like one-on-ones. Tell the world a little bit more about how they can learn about what they can do with you.
So what happens when we do one-on-one sessions is we usually do them like a video chat, so you can do them from the comfort of your own home. And what we'll do is you'll sit down on a video chat with us. Everything in this, and I want to make this very clear, we've built this, and I was adamant about making sure that privacy is the most important. Everything is HIPAA secured. Everything is HIPAA certified. That's where you get everything, right? It's through an entire platform called Care Patron, right? You do the video chat through there. All of the notes are done through there. So it's all secured. And you sit down and talk with us. We talk about what's going on with you. We have this chat. I run your profile right in front of you and see what your system's doing and how it's doing. And everything we do is observation based. In cases where we do an in-person, I will observe you more. And in many cases, we have a little machine that we use that does an EKG. So I might take an EKG and see what your actual heart rhythm is doing. And then we put that all into our system and find out what's wrong. And then if you do the session with us online, we build you the bracelet right there, right? It's custom constructed right in front of you. So you will leave that session with regulation techniques of how to work with your bracelet. You'll leave there with a bracelet and an oil. You'll find out why you're not working the right way, what we're doing to fix it. You have your intervention, and you go home at the end of the day, and it's shipped to you within 2 days. And you get to see what it looks like before it's even done. So I've had people that have done the session that I've built the bracelet, and they're like, I hate that. Okay. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's your bracelet. We want you to wear it. You don't like it? Cool.
Yeah.
Tell me what's wrong with it. I want blue in it. I don't like the pink. Okay. We now carry 92 different stones.
Wow.
Right? We have a stone for everything, and we carry some of the rarest stones on earth. Blue tourmaline, moldavite, phenakite, granditerite. You can't find those, right? Like I had to import some of those from India.
Yeah.
Right. And not like India, like Bangladesh, or Kuala Lumpur. I'm talking like backwoods India.
Yeah.
I had to import these from someplace, that was a fun phone conversation. So where can people find you to do that? oneancientearth.com.
Okay. So that's where they can go and book an appointment with you.
Yes. Until the Somatic Engineering website gets up.
And then if they want to work with me, how does that work now?
Same deal.
Okay.
What we'll do is that there's a regulation session, right? That's with you. And, we generally suggest that before you work with, with everything, we get a somatic profile done. We find out if you need an intervention. And then generally I suggest whether or not you do that, we have a couple people that we've got to talk about, off the air, that we've got to talk about regulating. But then you just sit down with you on a video chat and that's it. Yeah. This is all we've done this as, I'm the type of person that I tell everybody, if I could not charge for any of this, I wouldn't. I believe that this is human knowledge. This is human history. This is how they used to do it. We shouldn't have to do this. However, stones cost money, right? It takes time and effort for me to run these. It takes time and effort for you to do this. So we ask for, and we don't say we charge, we ask for as little amount of money as humanly possible. The session that you're talking about with me to do that is $150. That's it. You get a bracelet and oil and everything you need for $150.
It's actually a really good price.
A doctor's appointment does not cost you $150. Yeah. A doctor's office is $500-$600. Just a regular checkup appointment, right? This is $150, and there's no medicine. It's all natural.
It's very holistic.
It's holistic.
Yeah.
And if you want the best example I can give you, the day I put these on, right, both of these. I was taking 60 milligrams of Adderall a day. That's what I required to operate. I'm down to 40.
That's crazy. How do you feel?
Better than I did.
With the 60 milligrams?
With the 60. And I'll hold 40 for a little bit, and then I'll probably start dropping again.
Yeah.
But I literally, 2 gemstone bracelets that would cost you $200 for these 2 took me off of 20 milligrams of Adderall.
Which long term, I mean, that's like, it's just a lot on the body. Like, yeah. I mean, it makes your heart go boom, boom.
But that's, am I telling everybody to stop taking their meds? No. Stop taking your meds. But if you can take $150, $200 and buy a couple gemstone bracelets and drop your Adderall 20 milligrams.
Be more regulated, more focused.
Be more regulated and feel better.
Yeah.
I can tell you've wasted more money on things that are just not that important.
I mean, going out to restaurants these days takes $100 every time you go anyway. So it's
we guarantee everything.
Yeah.
Like if you get your bracelets and they don't work, let me know. We'll re-engineer them. We carry I think it's like a year, 90-day warranty on them that if they break, we'll just rebuild it.
Yeah, you will.
Right? We'll just rebuild it.
I mean, I think, Tony, this is very exciting because it's merging our worlds together, and I'm acting as a clinical consultant, not as an occupational therapist, but just my knowledge base is there as a regulating person, because my God, do I still need regulation at times. But being able to share what I've...
Tell me about it.
Yeah, both of us. But, sharing what I have learned throughout my life and through my own awakening journey, how I was able to survive my spiritual awakening / deep, profound, prolonged healing journey was regulating my nervous system and finding ways to ground and do somatic healing of my body. And then the bracelets, right? And I wear them every day. I switch them out. The dominance of my hands, I'll switch out, maybe the heart bracelet goes on the left hand. Then the one that gets me in my head goes on my right hand. I'll switch them out or just wear one. I feel like everyone is looking for help. Everyone is looking for peace that they've been seeking for so long. And our country and our world is so dysregulated right now. And I think let's just bring it back to the basics and let's go back to what the ancients did. And yes, you can merge that with technology. You can merge it with modern medicine, but let's actually look at the whole picture again. I think that's what we're missing. That's all we're asking is to look at the whole picture. Would you agree?
Help is here. You can find it at oneancientearth.com.
You can find me at opendoorpt.com as well.
You can find any one of us at those places, soon to be somaticengineering.info.
Yeah.
That's where you're going to go for help.
Yeah.
And you've got 2 people who I can tell you, in any of the 3 of us that run this company, right? And soon to be 4, right? And any of the 4 of us that do this, we don't give a crap about money. We don't care.
I really don't.
We care about helping you, and we care about making it better. And that is, we have to ask for money because we need money to run the thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? But we don't care about money. We're not going to overcharge you. We're not going to gouge you. I can tell you how many people have looked at my bracelets and any of the bracelets that we built and went, dude, how much are you charging for these? $100. You can get like $300 for these.
You're like, I'm not interested in that.
I don't want to charge $300 with this. I want these affordable for everybody. That's when we talked about, how much we're going to charge for your sessions. I the first thing I said to is it has to be affordable for everybody.
Right.
Right. $100 or $150, I think is what we chose on that. That's a little expensive, especially for nowadays. But at the same time, it's $150.
If you only need me one time, right?
Yeah.
If I'm able to give you strategies and give you a plan of like, here's what could help you, right? These are just suggestions and ideas, and you have agency and choice to use them or not use them. I think that's just where this whole thing is going, is we care about safety. We care about agency. We care about your healing. And this is just who we are.
Well, we're bringing on healers too.
Yeah.
Right.
And I have a whole tribe of
various
healers.
Various healers. The one woman I talked with the other day, she's a Chinese herbalist.
Oh yeah.
Right. She said, okay, she's coming on board. So you're not just going to go and get, help with us or help with you. You can go there to all of these ancient methods. You know what I mean? The methods of Chinese herbs or Reiki or
shamanism.
These methods that we've used for thousands of years before Western medicine, you can find them all there.
Right. And
you can go through and see everybody that you need to. And you will spend $10,000 on an MRI, no problem. And most people's insurance costs $700-800 a month.
That's low, but yes, it's usually about $1,000
Okay,
these days.
just say $700-800 a month, $1,000 a month on your health insurance, right? What's $500 going to do? And you will do it once.
Yeah. I'm not looking to have forever patients. I tell it to all the parents and everyone. I'm like, my goal is for you to do this at home. My goal is for you to work and heal your body. And I'm going to give you the tools and I'll be your guide and I'll let you set you free, So thank you so much, Tony, for being here today. I'm so excited for everyone to learn more about everything that you're doing with Somatic Engineering. You can find him at oneancientearth.com and TikTok History Teacher on TikTok. And he has a new book that's coming out. So stay tuned for more details on that. And, if you're interested in being on the podcast to tell your story of your awakening and your spiritual healing journey, or you have anyone else that you're interested in learning about their journey, send me a message, tag them. And I'm so excited to keep this journey going. As a reminder, when I heal, you heal. When you heal, I heal. And when we all heal, we rise and build a new earth together. Until next time, bye.